Hi, and welcome back. In this final session, we're going to be looking at the 6 stages of the development of trust. So here you'll see how all of the preceding information that we've given you before and the experiential examples that we discussed fit into the 6 stages of the development of trust. And we're going to look also at what is the conclusion of all of this work, the happy dream. What does that look like? And finally, we're going to end with a couple of very powerful meditations that'll help set you on the course to your own awakening. So, the 6 stages of the development of trust. What I'd like to do now is firstly to read to you the first stage of the development of trust, which is contained in the Manual for Teachers in A Course in Miracles. First, they must go through what might be called a period of undoing. This need not be painful, but it is usually so experienced. It seems as if things are being taken away, and it is rarely understood initially that their lack of value is merely being recognized. I'll stop there. All of us have been to this first stage of undoing. This can be categorized in our lives as a crisis. We have a health scare, we lose our job, suddenly our relationship looks rocky, and there's a chance here to reinterpret it. All sorts of opportunities present themselves consistently through this life for us to begin the process of undoing. And as Jesus just mentioned there in A Course in Miracles, this need not be painful, but it is usually so experienced because we don't understand what's going on. And as we said earlier in the program, what happens is that when Humpty Dumpty falls off the wall, we try and put Humpty Dumpty back together again. We think it's a breakdown and we try and repair it to restore the status quo, and not only restore it, but add extra security to it. What's really happening is that we have an opportunity to break through. And if we but recognize that when such an undoing knocks on our door, all we need to do is actually not resist it. Instead, go into that space of unknowing that we've discussed, so that we can allow the universal inspiration to come in and help us interpret it. Now let's go on to the second stage. This second stage can be categorized as a period of sorting out. And again, I'm going to read a little bit from A Course in Miracles here. Next, the teacher of God must go through a period of sorting out. This is always somewhat difficult, because having learned that the changes in his life are helpful, he must now decide all things on the basis of whether they increase the helpfulness or hamper it. He will find that many, if not most of the things he valued before, will merely hinder his ability to transfer what he learned to new situations as they arise. Because he has learned what is really valueless, he will not generalize the lesson for fear of loss and sacrifice. It takes great learning to understand that all things, events, encounters, and circumstances are helpful. So I'll stop there. Again, many of us don't even get to this stage of sorting out, because what happens is that we want to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. If we look at the examples that we gave you around our own undoing of our relationship from the special to the holy, and if we look at the example we gave you around Ricky, what happened there was that we had to develop trust by saying we did not know what was going on or what this is for. We had no idea of where to turn to next, other than to say we will trust that all that we have learned merely increased fear in us. So our sorting out was meaningless, because it was all based on the ego, which just created greater pain and suffering. So again, we learn to trust in the universal inspiration to help us to sort out, to help us interpret what was valuable and what was valueless. In the case of Nouk and I, what was valueless was the codependent relationship and the dysfunction that accompanies that sort of relationship. But we didn't know how to sort that out. We simply had to allow and once again surrender that. And in so doing, that's when we discovered that we indeed didn't know how to sort anything out. But what was left behind was the valueless, and only then did we discover what was valuable, which was the content of our relationship, which is love, which is the only thing that there exists in truth in any relationship. Now let's go on to the third stage, and again I'll read a little bit here from the course. The third stage through which the teacher of God must go can be called a period of relinquishment. If this is interpreted as giving up the desirable, it will engender enormous conflict. Few teachers of God escape this distress entirely. There is, however, no point in sorting out the valuable from the valueless unless the next obvious step is taken. So I'll stop there. What happens for most of us is that we live in stages 1 and 2. In other words, we have a period of undoing, we have a crisis. We move to the sorting out, but we've never really been taught that the sorting out shouldn't be done by us. So what happens is that the ego does the sorting out, which eventually means that we're just trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again. So what then happens is that we actually are born, then we live a life of suffering, because in stages 1 and 2, there's this great conflict, this push-pull between the ego and our deep spiritual self, which is aching to wake up. But because we allow the ego to do the sorting out, it merely puts us back into the cycle of pain and suffering, and then we die. So most of us live there, stage 1, stage 2, having a near-life experience. The trick is actually to have the courage to move to stage 3. This is where we actually surrender finally our values, our beliefs, the false identities, all those exercises that you have already done in this program. Review those and look at those and ask yourself, which of those values, identities, beliefs, opinions, relationships are you prepared now to offer up to the universal inspiration for reinterpretation? To go back to the story of Nouk and I, stage 3 was where we looked at our relationship and said, this marriage that we're having, instead of creating security, was actually, the form of it was actually growing insecurity. So what we decided to do then was, with guidance, say, let's relinquish the form. This is a stage 3 experience, where we had to trust that we did not know our own best interests, but that because we did believe that love was real, that whatever happened in the future, it would turn out for the best. As it happened, it has turned out for the best, because we're both sitting here in front of you, some 12 years after divorce now, closer than we've ever been, and more in love than we've ever been with each other. And knowing, the important thing is this, knowing that no one and nothing can ever come between us to shake that love. Now, when I say we're more in love than ever, I just need to clarify this, because the ego immediately wants to grab that and says, have you renewed your romantic relationship? And that's not what I mean at all. What I mean by that is the unconditional regard for each other. What I mean is, at a level of the mind, we are more loving towards each other than we've ever been. This has nothing to do with romance. This is about the conscious love that Nouk referred to earlier in the program. In the example with Ricky, when she couldn't give us a guarantee that she wouldn't take her life, what was important for us was to trust that love was real and that there is no birth or death or separation. And that has proven to be so as well. Not because Ricky didn't take her life, but because in the ensuing time since then, the three of us have grown so very close. We have learnt love between ourselves, and we have proven that love is real. And this stage 3, this is the most important stage. As we said earlier before, a lot of spiritual practices can give you states of enlightenment, can help you to feel good about yourself for a period of time. But they don't teach you trust. Whatever pathway you're on, we honor it. The key thing is to look in all those pathways and ask, is there anything within those teachings that invite you to surrender, invite you to relinquish your false self's belief systems that you have set up? If so, you're well on the way home. Now let's move on to stage 4. And again, I'll read a little piece from the Course in Miracles. Now comes a period of settling down. This is a quiet time in which the teacher of God rests a while in reasonable peace. Now he consolidates his learning. Now he begins to see the transfer value of what he has learned. Its potential is literally staggering, and the teacher of God is now at the point in his progress at which he sees in it his whole way out. Give up what you do not want and keep what you do. How simple is the obvious? And I'll stop there. I think that says it for itself. So what happens is that it isn't just a linear process. In the case of Nouk and myself, we went through stages 1 to 3 over a number of issues. So one of them was to have our relationship reinterpreted. The second major one was the issue that we had with Ricky, where she taught us about unconditional love. Along the way, there have been a lot of other minor ones. One of those was around parenthood, finances, etc. All of these that we had to hand over and allow for the universal inspiration to reinterpret them. So you'll do this 1, 2, 3 dance a number of times. And then the good news is you'll have a break. A period of settling down where you consolidate what you've learned within yourself. And as Jesus says there, you see your whole way out, because now you have come to the point where you recognize for yourself that there is no will that you would prefer other than your unified will. You happily relinquish free will because you see for yourself that your free will and your own sorting out has brought you nothing but pain and suffering. And so you're happy to listen now to the teacher within. One of the things that I just want to mention about stage 4 here, which can be common amongst many spiritual seekers, is that this is also a point where many students of the spiritual way will undertake a spiritual bypass. What do I mean by that? Collecting a whole bunch of information, being really knowledgeable about information, as opposed to actually having experienced it themselves. So just watch for yourself. Information alone is not going to take you through the stages of the development of trust, because by its very nature, the development of trust means you have to enter into the void. You have to be prepared to enter into that space of saying, I do not know. My own sorting out has only led me to more pain and suffering, and so I'm prepared to hand over. Okay, so let's move on to stage 5. And again, I'll read a piece from the course. The next stage is indeed a period of unsettling. Now must the teacher of God understand that he did not really know what was valuable and what was valueless. All that he really learned so far was that he did not want the valueless, and that he did want the valuable. Yet his own sorting out was meaningless in teaching him the difference. The idea of sacrifice, so central to his own thought system, had made it impossible for him to judge. He thought he learned willingness, but now he sees that he does not know what the willingness is for. And now he must attain a state that may remain impossible to reach for a long, long time. He must learn to lay all judgment aside and ask only what he really wants in every circumstance. Were not each step in the direction so heavily reinforced, it would be hard indeed. So here, what happens is that at stage 5, it seems that we re-enter stages 1 to 3 again over a number of issues, and we do. And there are a couple of reasons for this. One is that if it was a simple, linear, once-only route, what would happen is that the ego would be there at the finish line going, I did it! Aren't we wonderful? We've made it. So what happens is that when we re-enter these 1 to 3 stages again, what happens is that we recognize, I really didn't learn this properly last time. I still have some spiritual pride around the lessons that I've learned. And here we learn to truly hand over. Here we learn that there are no order of difficulties in miracles, and that there are no hierarchy of illusions. The reason that here Jesus says, it may take a long, long time and it may be hard, is because we still have some sacred cows hidden away in the cabinet. These we have to take out and relinquish. We have to allow even these most sacred of our cows to be examined. And if we dare to do that, then we move into stage 6. And I'll read again from the course. And finally, there is a period of achievement. It is here that learning is consolidated. Now what was seen as merely shadows before becomes solid gains, to be counted on in all emergencies, as well as tranquil times. Indeed, the tranquility is their result, the outcome of honest learning, consistency of thought, and full transfer. This is the stage of real peace. For here is heaven's gate fully reflected. From here, the way to heaven is open and easy. In fact, it is here. Who would go anywhere if peace of mind is already complete? And who would seek to change tranquility for something more desirable? What could be more desirable than this? So I think that pretty much says it there. Here at stage 6, we achieve the peace of God that we've been talking out throughout this programming. And who would want anything more than that? Here, life begins. That's the funny thing. Up till this point, we've been struggling. Right? So this is where we can live the happy dream. So here at stage 6, we finally achieve a state of peace. Now let me qualify what this means. So long as we're here in form, in the body, we will always have an ego. The difference being now that the ego is fully the servant of our higher self. In other words, you can picture it on the sidelines, putting its hand up and saying, excuse me, can we worry about this? And you're going to just look at it and go, nice try, no thank you very much. The ego will still be maintaining us in terms of the body, of eating, of our instincts, in terms of life and death fear, but that's it. In all other respects, the ego will be the servant of our unified will. And this is the state of the happy dream.
As we traverse along the stages of the development of trust, what we realize more and more is that we're starting to understand cause and effect. We're beginning to see that all of our problems are really just an effect of the cause which is in our mind. But it's not until we truly go through those first 3 stages on all of our beliefs and different issues, and maybe even relationships as well, that we start to see this and own it, and it becomes a part of us. Because what we'll do from the ego, and this is the trap that we need to really be observant of, is when we see something outside of us that seems to cause our suffering. In other words, say somebody's upsetting you, or a situation doesn't meet your expectations. That's the time to look and say, hang on a minute, that's an effect and the cause is in my mind, because there are no victims in this process of spiritual awakening. We cannot spiritually awaken if we still believe that we're a victim of something or somebody outside of us. This is so important. So that means we learn, as we go through the development of trust, we learn not to continue problem solving at the effect level. In other words, to give you an example of that, is that if we've seen ourselves as a victim of failed relationships in the past, we finally realize that it's not outside of us. The failed relationships are not something that was caused outside of us. We take responsibility for our own perception, and we begin to change our perception of the relationship. We begin to implement quantum forgiveness at every opportunity. So instead of doing what the ego does, if it consistently has failed relationships, what it does is it changes the partner. In other words, if we were in a movie theatre and say we were the projector, what we would be doing if we changed our partner is we would be going up to the screen and trying to change the screen instead of looking at the projector. That's where the film's coming from. So as we go through the development of trust, we learn to trust more our inner wisdom at changing our perception of situations. And when we change our perception of situations, we trust the wisdom of the guidance, and it will guide us as to when to do something, when to plan for something, what to do in that plan, if there is any plan at all. It will guide us without the ego having an expectation attached to that as well. This is something else that we need to learn to drop too, is these superficial expectations. In other words, this vicious cycle that the ego gets us involved in, which is the seeking of pleasure and the avoiding of pain. The ego's got no idea what pleasure and pain are. Like we said earlier, the ego has no idea of what love is. So, in around stage 2, especially stage 3 of the development of trust, we learn that all change is helpful. Not just some change, but that all change is helpful. Because as we're unlearning the ego or undoing the ego, what we'll tend to do is have a hierarchy of illusions. In other words, we will say that some change is helpful, but other change is not helpful. So, to give you an example, I might have an appointment that I need to keep. I find I have a flat tire on the way to that appointment. What happens? I'm disillusioned. I'm disappointed. I immediately go to that feeling that, well, something is wrong. This is a change that's occurred that certainly is not helpful. Yet that's just the ego. If something happens, if something seemingly goes wrong that you don't agree with, but there's nothing that you can do about that at that moment, then it's perfect. All change is helpful. So as we increase our trust in the divine, what occurs is there's less stress, less anxiety and concern around anything that may seemingly go wrong, like a flat tire or an unexpected delay. These things don't worry us anymore. They don't unsettle us like they did before. Because what we're doing is we're learning to drop our control. We're learning to drop the control, which is the defense against love. That's what the ego is. And as we do it, as we surrender to the wisdom, as we surrender to dropping our resistance to what is and what occurs daily, what happens is that the love, the divinity that's within, is exposed within us. And when it's exposed within us, it's exposed outside of us as well. We see it everywhere else. And part of this process is also learning not to have a sense of superiority as we're going through these stages of developing trust. Because, and I speak from experience, is that as I went through these stages myself, I fell into numerous traps. In fact, honestly, I feel that I've made more mistakes in this area than anybody else, and that's probably why I feel I'm qualified to perhaps be here to help you to undo your ego. And one of these traps was this sense of superiority that I did have, and apparently I've learned since then that many seekers fall into this trap. What we try and do is we gain a little traction on the journey. We gain some confidence. We think, hey, I've got this. This is great. And then what we do is we try and correct others. We try and preach to others. These are the ones that are around us, closest to us, our significant others. And that's not helping them or us, because our only job is to remember to allow what is. Whatever we can't change is perfect. And whatever presses our buttons, we need to look at. And we look at that not alone with ego, but together with spirit. And then we apply quantum forgiveness, because we need to remember that the cause of everything in our life really comes from the one mind, and that one mind to be healed is our own. So let's look at the happy dream. What does that look like? We have insights to the happy dream. We have experiences of the happy dream, all throughout our undoing, all throughout the development of trust. Right throughout this program, we've been talking about the dream, that this life is a dream, that the ego is a dream, and the only truth there is the God self, the divine self, that we really are beneath this I that we call ego. Now, this dream that the ego is usually in charge of is really one that's fraught with suffering. It's fraught with control, with the need to resist and avoid, and it's just speckled here and there with some good times. But most of us know that there's birth, and then that's followed by death here in the dream. There seems to be constant change in this dream, and there's really nowhere or no time we can rest consistently. In other words, there is nowhere where we can find consistent peace forever here in this dream, unless, of course, we undo the suffering factor, which is the ego, the unconscious guilt that the ego has caused. So as we evolve through the stages of the development of trust, what we come to find is there's something more than this dream. While we're here in a body, we've got something to really look forward to. In fact, we could claim that right now if we didn't have this unconscious resistance to love, which is the ego. We could claim what the Course in Miracles calls the happy dream. This is our inheritance here in this body, in this world. We can have a consistently happy dream. And that's the stage 6 experience. Actually, we really begin to feel it at stage 4. Stage 4 and stage 6 are termed the happiest periods of the stages of the development of trust, because those periods are where we really open our mind, open our hearts to the divinity within, to the universal inspiration. We see in those stages our whole way out. Of course, in stage 4, it's not permanent yet, but in stage 6, the happy dream, it's permanent. It's the stage of spiritual awakening, because until we go through that period, till we hit stage 6, what's really happening is we're having states of awakening. They're temporary states of awakening. They open, we believe we've reached it, and then they close again. Stage 6, it opens permanently. Our eyes are open, our hearts are open, our minds are open. We realise our divinity here within the dream. So we get a chance to actually experience being the divine self here in a body, which is an amazing experience. So there's no need for anxiety anymore. There's no need to resist anything, to control anything. It's just the most amazing experience. There's an immense liberation because we finally can trust. We trust ourselves, and because we trust ourselves, and I'm speaking of the divine within, we trust everyone else. There is nobody not to trust. There is nothing not to trust anymore. There's nothing to protect anymore. And with that, the ego's desire to get, to have, to acquire, to become, all of these things drop away because the ego is the law of deprivation. And in the happy dream, that law of deprivation doesn't exist anymore. We realize our natural state. We have no needs that are not fulfilled, ever. Can you imagine that? So there's no need for this independent will, the ego, to run our lives anymore. The independent will that's afraid of love. That means that all of our relationships in the present and in the future are totally reinterpreted. That means that the relationships we have with everybody in our lives is indestructible. There's no need for the end of love or love turning to hate. There's no fear of that. It's laughable at this stage. In the happy dream, we have an endless source of creativity. That's huge. Why is that? Because we're living in the now moment. The past has been reinterpreted, so we're living in the eternal now moment here in the body. We're open to an infinite stream of divine wisdom, infinite creativity. So guidance is right there every moment. Every moment we have that guidance available to us. So really there is no need to plan ahead anymore. And if there is a practical need to plan ahead, say if you need to organise a trip somewhere or your family or whatever, you'll be told exactly what to do. You will know from that divine wisdom within exactly what to do. So what happens then is that you find that all of your need to control before with the ego has fallen away. Because the ego, when you look back, you find that the ego's need to control pretty much took most of your life. In fact, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the ego was in control, except when you fell asleep, into a deep, deep sleep. And then you'd have a rest. But every other moment, the ego was in control, defending itself against love. When that drops away, what do you think happens? You become an instrument for the divine, an instrument for the divine to express itself through you. And you get the bonus of experiencing that divinity coming through you. And it's at this place where we have no needs. We don't need to get anything anymore. We don't need to actually become anything anymore. So what happens is we've freed up to actually express what it is we are. So the only calling that we truly have is to express the innate creativity that we are. So we really get to live the experience that giving is receiving. And the more we give, the more we receive. And the more awake we become, because awakening is not a dead end. As we awaken, we evolve here in the body. The awakening experience gets richer, gets deeper, and of course gets even more loving if that's possible. So this is what we have to look forward to in the happy dream. Can you imagine? What I'd like to do shortly is to introduce to you a simple and short meditation to help us with quantum forgiveness and releasing judgment and resistance. So this short meditation will help us locate and release destructive judgments. The ego holds on to all our grievances. From the day we were born, unforgiven grievances were systematically stored layer upon layer in our unconscious, only to replay in different forms all throughout our life. Themes such as scarcity in love, health, and finances all have their roots in these unforgiven grievances. All our suffering is caused by uninvestigated judgments and beliefs. So, judgment is responsible for all our suffering. Any present suffering that we may feel is always caused by unhealed past perceptions projected into this now moment. Don't ever allow the ego to bluff you to think that something that's upsetting you is something apart from you and that you're a victim of it. It's always going to come from your unhealed perception that's being projected outwards. This is the truth. Remember, there's only one mind, and the purpose here is to heal our mind. So the past is healed through quantum forgiveness, and that is done in the now moment. We did speak earlier about the fact that we can heal all of our past traumas in the now moment. We don't need to go back and dredge up the past. So judgment is responsible for all our suffering, from past hurt to present anguish. And remember that we can't forgive something that we believe is real. Believing that we are or were a victim to someone or something outside us, including our own body, through illness or disease, renders us helpless to identify and therefore eliminate the real cause of the problem. The true cause arose from our unconscious ego and was projected outwards so that it made us believe that we are purely a fragile physical and emotional body. So how does judgment hurt us? Unforgiven issues from the past revisit us, usually in different forms, so that we don't relate them to the past. Therefore, all healing of the past must take place in the present by releasing our belief in its reality. In other words, we must release the belief that we're a victim of anything that's happened to us in the past. Our job is to release this, and Spirit's job is to reinterpret that trauma. You know, we often think of judgment as being just a plain old judgment that we consciously make in our mind. But under that umbrella of judgment, we'll find that there are often disguised issues that cause us problems in the now moment. Most of our judgments are often disguised from our awareness. So judgment is any conscious or unconscious fear. That's what judgment is. Any form of resistance that you feel arises from a judgment. Anxiety and the need to control are all forms of the ego's judgment. Basically, what a judgment is us believing the unreal to be true. That's what a judgment is. Belief is the key here. We believe something that is untrue. It's uninvestigated, and therefore we take it as being truth. So it is important that we see that judgment really includes all of our resistance, all of our anxiety, all of the times that we feel attacked or betrayed or abandoned. These all come under the umbrella of judgment because they're all issues or experiences that we believe are true and that we've experienced or been victim of. Now, your job right now is this. It's to offer your willingness to let the universal inspiration reinterpret your past fully. This is done, as I said before, not by consciously re-entering past trauma and giving it even more reality, but by being vigilant in every present moment that you feel any sense of threat or loss of peace. Say moments where you feel inadequate or fearful, perhaps resentful, or maybe you're in physical pain. Your job is to be the impartial observer of whatever feelings and memories surface and to be present with the universal inspiration. So you're not looking at these alone with the ego, because the ego always judges and it loves self-judgment. So this means that you are to watch without judgment. When you decide to be the non-judgmental witness only, watching uncomfortable stuff arise, you leave a miraculous gap. In this gap, the ego disappears. In this gap, spirit enters and the miracle of reinterpretation occurs. Now, you don't have to know how or when. All you need to do is to be present with willingness to allow that gap, to suspend doubt. Now, this can occur in a millisecond, just a moment. You don't need to extend it to a half-hour meditation or a 15-minute meditation. Any time that you are present, watching something uncomfortable, just get into that now moment with spirit to observe it for a split second. That's when the miracle occurs, because you've left a gap, you've left a second for the divine to come in and reinterpret this whole thing without judgment. Remember that A Course in Miracles' objective is not to cease making judgments on self and others. It's to learn not to judge ourselves for judging. So in other words, if you judge yourself and realize this, then don't compound that. Don't make it even more real by judging yourself for judging. And this is something that we really need to unlearn, which is self-judgment. I'm ready to begin this short meditation. This is a powerful process. Its aim is to help you to release layers of the ego. In other words, this short process will help you to undo the one cause of all your suffering, the ego. What I'm going to ask you to do is begin by taking the time to inquire within. I'd like you to choose a judgment that you're ready to release. It could also be an issue, a fear, or resistance. Something that's been causing you suffering. It may be a judgment, or perhaps a grievance in any of the following areas. For example, a judgment of another or a situation. Identify a current person or situation that causes you distress. Or it could be a judgment of the past. Maybe you need to identify a past trauma, a disappointment that you still believe caused you to suffer. Or it could be a self-judgment. Maybe you need to identify an issue that you mentally judge or criticize yourself for. This can also include concern about your health or perhaps your weight, maybe an illness. Perhaps it might be a judgment against the divine. Maybe you might have a resentment with God, with Jesus, the Holy Spirit. Perhaps you felt that they weren't there to support you at some time. So what I'd like you to do is have a look at those. Take the time now, perhaps maybe stop the program now, and really ask yourself, which judgment or issue or grievance or resistance are you prepared to release to the universal inspiration? Choose one of those now, and when you're ready, come back and we'll start the meditation. Get comfortable. Relax and take a few slow and deep breaths. Close your eyes. your body to sink into calm presence. Feel yourself sinking deeper and deeper into a relaxed state, letting muscles unwind and release. There is nothing to do here, just to be. Allow yourself to sink deeper and deeper into a relaxed state. Watch any thoughts that might pop up, and rather than identify with or control them, just let them be. Allow yourself to sink deeper into a relaxed state. Allow the thoughts to be, and bring your awareness into this now moment. Allow your awareness to be the observer of all your thoughts. Just watch the thoughts as they float on by. Now gently focus your awareness on the judgment or the fear or the resistance that you intend to release to the universal inspiration. Just look at that for a moment. What is it that you are ready to release to the universal inspiration? What is this issue that you're prepared to release from suffering? Over to the universal inspiration. And the way we do this is to first stop and look. Just look. Look quietly in this present moment at this issue that we're about to release to the universal inspiration. Just be in this present moment without the past and recognize that you made a judgment. This is purely a judgment that you believe to be true. If it's a fear or a resistance, then recognize that this is purely a judgment. Don't judge it again. Just allow it. If tempted to judge yourself for making this judgment, or fear, or resistance, simply recognize that it could only be the ego judging itself. Never judge a self-judgment. It seeks only to make it real. Spirit never judges. So allow yourself to just observe this particular judgment, this issue, without judging it again. Just observe it as the impartial observer. Now we're going to the second step. We're going to look at it. Really look at it. But here, it's not the ego looking, we're looking with the universal inspiration. This is where the real healing takes place. It's in the looking without judgment. The miracle of quantum forgiveness occurs when we are courageous enough to simply look without judgment. In this now instant, the ego disappears. Ego cannot be present without judgment. This is a miraculous instant that allows spirit to reinterpret the past and therefore both the present and the future. Every present moment of conflict that is reinterpreted by spirit undoes a chunk of our perception of past trauma. There is no need to rehash or revisit your past. All present suffering is caused by our unconscious past revisited and represented in another form by the ego. Here we suspend our own judgment and allow the miracle to occur. And then we go to the next step. We release it. This is where we let go of this issue, this past trauma, this fear or resistance. We let it go. We give it to the universal inspiration. This is where we surrender our belief that we were victimized in any way, shape or form. This is where we really let it go. If judgment or self-judgment arises again, perhaps if fear or guilt or shame or even more judgment appear, remember that any further judgment is just the ego. Again, the ego's purpose is to separate you, and it uses judgment to do it. So don't judge yourself for making a judgment. Just allow it. Just let it go. Give it to the universal inspiration, and it's gone. All it takes is an instant, just an instant of your willingness to let this issue go, and it's gone. It's up to you to trust that the miracle has already occurred, that the healing at the quantum level has already taken place. Now gradually bring your attention back now to your body. Feel yourself breathing in and out. Be present as you feel your body relaxing. Begin to sense where your body is touching a surface. Perhaps the chair, or a mat, or the floor. Feel your awareness return to this room. Return to your body. Slowly allow your awareness to return to your body and the room. And when you're ready, open your eyes. This next guided meditation is titled, Who Am I? And this meditation's aim is to take us to a place beyond the ego, or should I say, beneath the ego, to the God self, the divine self that we are. Its aim is to lead you to the experience of who you really are beneath the ego. So begin by getting very comfortable and relaxed. Find a place to sit or lie. It's going to be nice and comfortable. And we will start this meditation. Gently close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Take some very long, deep and slow breaths. In and out. As the breath flows within you, fully in and out, just notice the coolness of the air as it enters your nostrils. And notice as it expands your chest and stomach. Notice as it retreats from your body and you feel more still, more quiet and more relaxed. Now is the time to increase your awareness. Now we shall travel together into a space of welcome, restful readiness. breathing in and out, slowly and deeply. Become aware of your body relaxing. And feel the calm of this moment bring stillness to your thinking mind and to your body. Counting down now from 10 to 1. Feel yourself become more deeply relaxed. 10. You are breathing gently. 9. 8. You are getting more relaxed. 7. 6. Your body and mind are quiet and relaxed. 5. 4. You are very still and willing. 3. Very calm and relaxed. 2. You are perfectly peaceful and ready to continue. And 1. This is the time where we choose to suspend doubt and control and enter fully into the now moment without thought of the past or the future. Our intent here is peace. The means by which we attain this peace is through allowing without control. In this moment, all fears, all control falls away. We let this moment be. To be just as it is with no controlling thoughts, no goal, only pure acceptance of all that is in this very now moment. There are no have-tos, no shoulds or could-haves. In this present moment, we have no judgment. There is no manipulation and there are no contrived thoughts. As your thoughts surface, just calmly be the detached observer. Be the watcher, and just allow them to float on by. Pay no attention to them, yet let them be. Let everything be. Let your attention fall into the being of awareness watching these thoughts. Watching the thoughts, the feelings or sensations rise and fall away. Feel what it's like to be the observer. Watch all the feelings, the sensations and thoughts. Release all agendas. There is nothing here to seek. Just allow everything to be, with no control. There is no guilt in this place. There is no need, no regret or judgment. There is nothing to seek or to find here. Just let everything be, allow. Guilt and the need to control cannot live in this pure state of now moment awareness. This is the holy instant. This is who you are. Relax. Let it be, let it all be. Watch any judgments and just let them go. Allow the moment to be. Just let this moment be as it is. Any thoughts that might arise, simply watch them and let them be as they are without believing any of them. Let all your thoughts float on by. Feel the present moment's peace flood through your body and mind. Notice any resistance and gently let it be without trying to change it. Just let it be. There is nothing to control, there is nothing to resist, and there's nothing to seek, but only to watch. Let this moment be just as it is. Sink deeply into the safety of this present moment, without judgment. Just allow the perfection of now. You are perfect as you are. You are the watcher, the observer of everything. In this moment of deep peace, there is no past, and there is no future. There is just this perfect now moment, free of any need to be different. Let it be just as it is. Allow all your judgments to fall away. Allow all your pain to fall away. Allow all your concerns to fall away. You are the watcher. Nothing concerns you. Let it all go. Feel yourself being lovingly supported, being lovingly comforted. Rest in this perfect moment as the watcher of all that seems to float by in your awareness. Rest completely in this sacred moment of infinite and loving support. Let it all be. Let it all go. Notice that you are sensing through awareness. That it is this awareness that is watching. Awareness is watching your thoughts, watching your feelings and sensations. Awareness is outside your body, watching your body, unlimited by your body. Notice how this awareness has no shape. It has no finite limits and no boundaries. Notice how free this awareness is. See how it just is, with no pressure, no needs, no agendas, and no demands. Awareness just looks quietly and gently upon all that it beholds without judgment. Rest in this quiet awareness. Let its gentle strength wash right through you and all around you, extending outward further and further. Let your attention slowly rest on recognizing how we could not exist as we know ourselves if we didn't first have this awareness. Before we made the ego, before we believed our thoughts, before we adopted our values and identified with the body as real, before we believed our life stories and emotions as real, awareness was there, our natural state, timeless and changeless. See how this profound awareness totally precedes all else in our perception. See how behind every thought we have, there is this awareness first, prior to a thought. Before every feeling you've ever had was this awareness. Before any thought of suffering can arise, awareness is there to recognize that thought. Before any feeling of guilt is felt, awareness is there to sense that feeling. Before we can think or believe the thought, I am me, there must awareness be. Awareness was everything, and still is. It is you. You are awareness. Awareness is all. Awareness is everything. Awareness is everywhere. You are awareness watching. The awareness that is watching is the same awareness that we all share. This is the one mind of God, in which we all belong. This is the oneness without an opposite. Awareness watches without identifying, without the need to judge or to act. Thoughts may float by, feelings may pass through, sensations may be felt, yet none of these can affect you. until you believe them. When you believe a thought or feeling, you forget awareness and fall into being identified with the thought or the feeling. Then you leave awareness behind. Suddenly, the blissful peace of awareness falls away and you seem to become the thought or the emotion. You identify it with the ego me, who is a body, a thought, an emotion, who can suffer and can die. Bring your attention to a thought or a feeling about a person you have known for a long period of time. Now notice how your memories of this person can bring up images and emotions ranging from happiness to anger, jealousy to sadness and pain. This is the little me we have believed ourselves to be up to this point in our life. Notice how our thoughts, feelings and actions are transient and inconsistent. They are not real. Even the belief that I am me is not real. The concept of me consists of a collection of thoughts and beliefs with no reality in awareness. Now take a deep breath and become the observer of the ego me. Be the observer of its thoughts and its emotions. Notice yourself observing your ego me without judgment, without suffering and without attachment. Just be the awareness watching your ego's sense of self, the me you think you are, and notice that you precede your memories, you precede your thoughts, and you precede your emotions. Gently notice how awareness is the knower. Awareness knows all. Being the first, it knows without judgment. It just quietly knows all. Now watch the me and notice that in awareness, this me you think you are is a product of awareness. Awareness is the first, and as the knower, it is aware of its byproduct, the me, the ego self. Just be aware that the me, the ego, is not the knower. Now bring your attention back to being the observer again. Feel yourself as awareness, watching the little me, with all its seeming needs, its desires, beliefs, and its values, with all its past and future hopes and fears. Watch this little me. Watch it all without any need for judgment. Just allow the me to be just as it is. Notice how in this now moment of pure awareness, you are not affected. You have no fear. Feel yourself as this gigantic awareness now, looking gently, looking lovingly, without any need to change a thing. Just look, wait, and allow. You are awareness. You are not the little me that you think you are. You never were this little me. Let your awareness fall gently on this truth and see yourself as awareness, aware of awareness. You are this awareness, having never been born and will never know death. You are the eternal living awareness. Who you are is the timeless awareness that precedes all the transient thoughts and beliefs about who you are. As awareness, You are watching, observing now, without believing, without judging, and without effort. There is no guilt, no sin, no regret. There's no past, there's no loss, and there's no future while we're in awareness. It just watches and peacefully looks upon all it sees without concern and without judgment. You are awareness, regardless of any thought, any belief, feeling, or action. Regardless of anything you've ever done, you are awareness. Your reality is awareness. Who you are owes none of its reality to any thoughts or beliefs.
Feel the sun.
Who you are has nothing to do with what you've done in the past. It has nothing to do with what you think you haven't done, or even what you want to do in the future.
Ease your body.
Who you are has nothing to do with any ideas of achievement or of failure. Not one thing, seemingly good or bad, has ever once affected the brilliant light of who you are in reality. You are fundamental awareness regardless of any thoughts, beliefs, or experiences. There is nothing you have ever done and nothing you could ever do to threaten your infinitely pure and innocent state. Your pure state of absolute guiltlessness has always been, is now, and ever shall be, completely innocent. This is who you are. Awareness is your real self, with no other. You, as awareness, are absolutely guiltless, absolutely free, and infinitely loved.
Let yourself go.
I am. I am. I am. Hear and feel this sound within. I am. I am. I am. This is who you are. You are. I am. I am is awareness. Awareness with no opposite. There is nowhere that awareness is not. I am is everywhere, always. I am everything, always and forever. Hear and feel the sound within. I am. I am. I am. This is who you are. You are the living experience of I am that I am.
Feel the sun.
Let your awareness be the experience
Free your
of
mind.
I am that I am.
Let yourself go.
Allow yourself to fall into the experience
Let
of
yourself go.
I am that I am. This is who you are. Long before the imaginary individual me came into being. Rest in this awareness,
Feel
the awareness of I am that I am. Rest in your true identity for a while now.
Ease your body.
And when you gently return your awareness to your body, to the little me, remember this. Remember that at any moment, no matter where you are, no matter who you're with, and no matter what what the circumstances may be. In any moment, you only need to choose to access this eternal state of awareness. Just become the watcher of your seeming reality in that moment. In times of conflict or fear, call on this eternal wisdom and enter the now moment. Transform any situation by entering into your natural state, pure, undivided awareness with no opposite. Within pure awareness lay all the wisdom and guidance you will ever need. This is your ultimate guide.
Let yourself go.
This is the universal inspiration and is available to you whenever you choose to suspend judgment and enter into the now moment of awareness. You are never alone. Awareness is everywhere and awareness is everything. Therefore you are everywhere and you are everything. You have everything. Now, gently bring your awareness back to your body. Bring your awareness to your breath. Breathing in and out. Gradually become aware of your body again. Begin to feel the presence of your body in this room.
Ease your body.
Give yourself time to come back.
Free your mind.
Breathing in and out.
Let yourself go.
And quietly allow your senses
Let
to return
yourself
to your
go.
body. Begin to feel the presence of your body again. Feel your presence in the room. And when you're ready, slowly and gently open your eyes. You are love.